Bizarre Brain Comics. Hello, my comic book friends, and welcome to Bizarre Brain Comics. I am Gary, your host. This is where I usually take a look at some older comics. This time, well, a few times in the recent past, I've talked a little bit about mini comics and small press. And some of you may not know much about that stuff. So I wanted to tell you just a little bit about it and kind of show you how to make a mini comic. Okay? Now, generally, mini comics, you think of mini comics as about this size right here, which is about 1/4 size of an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, like this. So fold it over once and you get half size, and that could also be mini comics or like this one here. Which is also about the same size that is usually done for a zine. Now, this is also often referred to as ashcan, and I hate that expression. But if you want to use it, that's fine. But I hate the ashcan description of these. And then, of course, this is just a little comic. And these zines can be anything. Can be often our text, can be stuff about poetry, stuff about art. Some people do zines about their stuff from their sketchbooks and the like. I have one of that I made of work from sketchbooks and comic books, and so that mini comics are usually about this size, which is 1/4 the size of an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. Now, some people even go a step further and fold it over once more, which is this size, which makes it about the size of a trading card. Now, the thing is, when this way you can get a whole mini comic out of, depending on how many pages you want, out of one sheet of paper. Like if you did that, for instance, including the covers, one sheet of paper like this would make 16 pages. If you do it this size with the 1/4 size, you can get 8 pages, or an 8-page comic. Like mine, these are my little mini comics, my 2 most recent ones here. And these are 8 pages long. And when I did these, I planned them to be 8 pages so I could get one mini comic out of one sheet of paper. If you could go, remember, when you do these, it has to, in this format, saddle stitch, stapled, one sheet of paper, and it's cut. Now, this is from doing Xerox copies. Now, with a lot of people having their own printers and stuff, can often do their own scanning, do everything on computer, and then print it out. I'm a Luddite when it comes to that. Have no computer, have no scanner, have no printer. So I have to rely on the old-fashioned paste up and Xerox machine. That's how I started doing my comics and stuff. So they are that sized and or this size. Now listen, to do the 8 pages that I have in this book, if I did it this size, it would take 2 sheets of paper. Now this one happens to be what is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 3 sheets of paper which makes it 2, 4, 6, which makes it 12 pages. Now to do 12 pages on this size takes 2 sheets of paper, and I figure if you go, unless you're doing 2 12-page mini comics at the same time, you're better off than just going ahead and make it doing it 16 pages with 2 sheets of paper. And now you can do anything you want. You can do, like in my case, I do these just some little stories. Here, for example, for that one is my original artwork. Same thing, original pages. And same thing goes for this other one over here. And it's 8 pages. Now, you can do, and I calculated the size I needed for the original pages, and to be able to come up with this size of a comic book. And calculated them, laid it out. I had the, depending on how you work, if you're going to do a mini comic, you can do a zine like this too. Poetry, articles, what have you. It doesn't. In this case, it just happens to be a mini comic. In this case, I had the whole story and roughly the page layouts, exactly what I wanted to say on each page. But I had these in my head. You could do it written down, but in these stories, I happen to have had them in my head. So I didn't need to write it. So it didn't. None of that actually got written until I did it on paper. But I knew exactly what I wanted and exactly how much space I had. So I knew the exact page layout for each page before I started the project. And that is not common. And if you're wondering, well, what size do you need? See if you can see this. What I have here, I have the dimensions of the sheet of paper. Or actually, it's the sheet of paper just a little bit smaller to give you space to put the entire image on that sheet of paper. And I put it here on this graph, this way and this way, and then drew those dimensions, then a line from this corner to this corner, which is a 45-degree angle, and you extend that line out this way, and at any point on this line that you might select will be in proportion to that original image. And so any image, any size that you do can be reduced down to fit on that size. And it just depends on what you need, how much detail. And it just so happens that the size that I chose was, for my original artwork, was 8 inches by 6 7/8 inches. And that's how that works. Then it is reduced down for to fit on my paper, like this. Now here, this is my paste up. So I went to the store, got my copies, reduced copies made from my original artwork, cut them out, and got me a sheet of paper, and I pasted them up. But it has to be done properly. Let me show you here. So this is one sheet of paper, front and back. So when you get your copies made, it's going to be front and back. So I do page 1, turn it over, page 2, page 7, and page 8. Got that? That's on top. Those go together. Then down below, page 2. Correction. Page 3. Page 4. Page 5. And page 6. So cut and paste, put all those up, and then when you get got my Xerox copy. This one came out kind of a little off, but I can use it for my illustrative purpose. So this is what I come up with. Then using a straight edge, or if you happen to have one of those large office type paper cutters, which I don't have, I had to use a straight edge and an X-Acto knife. I cut it down the center here, so that I wind up with 2 pieces. Then I get out my handy dandy little stapler, and I collate it and staple it together so that I have. Now, in my case, you can do either for your cover. You can do a separate image for your cover, and then start the first page of your story on what is page 2. Now, and I wanted 8 pages, so I designed mine so that the cover, it's got the title, credits, all that stuff, is the first page of my story. So it functions as a cover and as a splash page. And so that's page 1, page 2, page 3, page 4, page 5, page 6, page 7, and page 8 for an 8-page comic book story. And you can do anything you want. You can do funny animals. You can anything you can conceive of and draw. It all depends on your capabilities and what you want. You could do a single illustration per page and a paragraph of text if you want to tell a story. Just have all text if you want an article, or a combination of artwork or photographs and text for articles to make it a zine. It's however you want, but you have to take into account, if you're going to do comic pages, you've got to take into account the small size of that it's going to be reproduced at, to determine how much room you've got to tell your story in. Which is very restrictive. Also, it has to take into account the reduction size for the size of your lettering. In my case, when I was doing this one, I wound up having to limit the amount of dialogue that I had. I could not put as much dialogue in the story as I actually wanted, just because of space constraints. But I was able to eliminate some of the dialogue without seriously altering my story. And that is a very brief tutorial. It's not as brief as I had intended, but a very brief tutorial on how to make your own mini comic. I have never done this before here, because I usually talk about other comics. But hey, you might like to make your own. So that's how you do it. A very brief overview, or at least how I do it. And this is old school. With computers now, you can probably do a whole variety of things that I don't have the capability of doing. When I had this printed, got my copies to make my books, I could have used colored paper, and that would be nice too, and it'd give it some color, just make it eye-catching. In fact, if I do another printing, I may just see about doing that. Okay, and that's all I've got this time. Thank you so much for joining me. Please like, share, subscribe. Leave a comment if you have any questions or any comments. Let me know. Have you made any mini comics of your own? Would you like to make mini comics of your own? What kind would you like to do? You could do comics, funny animals, superheroes, autobiographical. In this case, it's kind of semi-autobiographical, and I chose to use an Archie, kind of an Archie stylization for my character, as opposed to this one here, which is more of a standard superhero type fare, because it's got the action and stuff in there, even though it's not really a superhero story, but it's a fake out. But that's it. Let me know what you think about mini comics. If you've ever even heard of mini comics before I started doing them, if you like mini comics, or if you want to make your own, what would you make your own mini comic about? And remember, comics are art.